Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today on the sixth beautiful day of Hanukkah. Today's shiur should be Leilu Nishmas Menachem ben Yisrael Yaakov, in the Refuah Shalema Meshalom David ben Sarachel. Meshalom ben Sarachel, the Refuah Shalema Rechama Rivka bas Rachel, Miriam bas Sarah, and Mania Eliezer Noach ben Esther Malka, Refuah Shalema. Yesterday we learned the third of the 7 reasons as to why the Torah does not mention Olam Haba for reward. And we said yesterday, we spoke about in length that because us humans were small-minded, we can't understand the concepts of Olam Haba. And so Hashem merely gives us these little treats on Olam Hazeh, these little rewards, but the ultimate goal is not that. The ultimate goal is actually Olam Haba. Today we're going to the 4th reason. And the 4th reason why the Torah does not describe the reward for punishment in Olam Haba, reward and punishment in Olam Haba. And he says like this, Shegemul ha'olam haba ein adam roy loy b'maseu hatoy belvad. Very simple. The mitzvos that we do does not give us the merit to have a schar in Olam Haba. It's just simple as that. And he goes into that, he explains that. He says, rather, he can become royu to have that schus for Olam Haba with 2 factors. He needs 2 factors involved, even with doing the mitzvah. First, the first one is that a person becomes favorite for Olam Haba is by not only personally performing mitzvos and not only doing good things, but also and guiding them to do what is good. That by teaching other people and showing them our mitzvahs and masim tovim and the love that we have for Hashem, that even though we do it ourselves, but if we encourage other people to do so, that is one factor that we need in order to have the schar in Olam Haba. Where do we see this? We see that it says, those who teach the righteousness to the multitudes, to a bunch of people, will shine like the stars forever and ever. And forever and ever means, obviously now in this world means when after we pass away, we go to Olam Haba, and that's where forever and ever and ever is. It says that a person is incapable of doing, if a person is incapable of doing this by himself, to be able to go ahead and not provoke, but be able to encourage other people to do mitzvahs, he could also do so by just performing his mitzvahs b'ferhesya, in public. We spoke a few days ago that in order to have true schar, we should do our mitzvahs and not share them with, not tell people about it. But we did speak that in order to, if we can encourage other people, we should do so. Or we should pay other people to do things. We should give them money to encourage them to learn Torah, to do other things. We see that actually by Torah, that giving money to encourage people to learn Torah is a big thing. And he goes further and he says, and it's stated in Mishlei, it says, for the reprovers, the people who go and correct you and tell you what's right or wrong in a nice way, not just calling you out on the bad stuff that you do. It shall be pleasant and good blessings will come upon them. As those people who basically showing that those people who go out and they encourage others, they teach others the ways of Hashem, those are the people, that's one of the factors that we need. When one who strives to teach the ways of Hashem, he combines the merit of inspiring others to be righteous together with his own merit, with the merit of his own righteousness and the merit of his faithful heart. And those two together is how it's going to help him do this. This refers to the various trials and tribulations, because he talks about over here that when we go through the hardships. So when we go to other people, and not that we teach them just the ways of Hashem, but we also show them when it's difficult, when we go through difficult times, and that we also see the light of Hashem. The same when we do that for ourselves, when we have bitachon, we do that every single day, but when we show that to other people, that is a big part of it. By being able to show people that it's not always going to be so pretty in our eyes, but it is pretty. This is what Hashem intended to be, intended to happen. And when you teach that, and when you show people those different ways, That's a part how we learn in the first factor of how we're going to earn that schus in Olam Haba. He is deemed worthy by Hashem to reserve the world to come. So your Yitzchak brother says, why is it so that why is it like that? He brings a Gemara. The Gemara teaches us that a person is punished for all his sins on this world besides Chilul Hashem. And the Gemara says over there that if a person performs an Avera B'far Hesya in the open, that he's doing a huge Chilul Hashem. Ever since we're little kids, we say, don't do that to Chilul Hashem. The Gemara over there teaches us that Chilul Hashem is one of the biggest Averas, so much so that there isn't, and the Torah doesn't explain the penalty for it, because there is no there's nothing in the world that you can punish a human being that would suffice when you are doing a Chilul Hashem. And therefore, he flips that. He says the same way that the Gemara teaches us over there about an Avera, it's the same thing by a mitzvah. That by a mitzvah, a person who causes others to sin is punished in the world to come. Obviously, the opposite must also be true on both counts. While a person may be rewarded for his mitzvahs in this world, the reward for Kiddush Hashem by teaching others, because that's what we're talking about over here, but by teaching other people how to be good Yidden, and by teaching them, showing them the ways of how to be righteous, that could only be given in Olam Haba, because there's nothing in the world that will be able to compensate us for such a big mitzvah. He goes now into the second factor. There's two factors, and they're going on to the second one. Vasheni. The second factor is chesed melehim udava v'toiva. By being favored with kindness from Hashem, with generosity and goodness. It says in Tehillim, Hashem is kindness when you repay each man according to his deeds. It says over here, it's actually very interesting. You guys are going to think about this for a second. Whatever reward a person receives in this world for any kind of mitzvah, it's not something that he earned. And that's what we're going to talk about in the second factor. We're not earning a reward. By Hashem giving us a reward, he's merely showing us kindness. Why? He explains over here that we do mitzvahs, we're actually in debt. And that's why we're doing all these mitzvahs. Not necessarily just that, but when we come into this world, the kindness that Hashem gave us, the favor that Hashem gave us, all the good stuff that Hashem gave us in our life, starting from the moment we were born, there's not enough mitzvahs that we can do that can pay that back. And therefore, he says over here, and he's going to explain a little bit further, that the mitzvahs that we do, we don't earn a reward for that. It's just merely a repayment. But by Hashem giving us a reward, it's just Him being kind. It's Hashem being kind to us and showing us that He loves us. Rav Av explains why a person's action cannot earn him that reward. He says, "Va'ila bazeh." The underlying reason for this is ki im haya maseh adam chayam b'mispar. That even if a person's good deeds were as numerous as the grains and sand at the sea, lo yeh shakal b'toiva achas min ha'toivas habari yizbarach alav ba'elam hazeh. They would still not be enough and equal enough to repay Hashem for all the chesed that He did for us. Kol shekain im yeh lechet. All the more so if a person does a sin, V'im yidaktek habari im ha'adam, should Hashem be merciless with a person, b'sviyas ados ha'toiva, and demanding proportionate gratitude for the good that He bestows, yeh kol maseu nitba v'nishka, that all of the person's good deeds would be canceled out and disappear. There's not enough mitzvahs that we can do in order to thank Hashem for the kindness that He shows us. And therefore, when we do an Avera, we're going even more in debt, because we can't even come close to repaying Him. Baktana shabatoiva saboya alav, when balanced against even the smallest of the kindness that Hashem bestows upon him, umashiyeh b'gmol haboyer, whatever reward a person receives from Hashem, is not generally deserved by him, and payment is deeds. He's really going to explain over here is that the mitzvahs that we do is not something that we deserve at all. The reward for it is not something that we deserve. It's just repaying Hashem for all the good that He's given us. And he goes over here to explain, just so we understand it a little better. Every mitzvah that we do for Hashem is actually preceded. Hashem started out, it's actually a thank you. I'll show it to you. He said, aside from the fact that every living person owes Hashem more than what he can ever repay him, like giving him life, sustenance, and all the other kindness in Hashem, the Midrash makes an additional point. He says over here, and here's the interesting part. Hashem does not require a person to perform a mitzvah only until he has granted him the favor. Meaning, he shows over here, and therefore, that's what he's trying to prove, that it's a thank you, not actually a reward. He says, bris milah. There's the mitzvah bris milah, but that's only after he gave us life. Mitzvah tzitzis is only after you receive the garment. Mitzvah mezuzah, Hashem gave you a house to live in. And giving meiser, that's only after you made money. And there's so many other things that we can go through. And if we start thinking about it, and we start realizing that when we do mitzvahs for Hashem, such as the ones we just explained, they're not rewardable. They're just saying thank you to Hashem, because Hashem gave us something first. So I know we spoke about this actually about 4 or 5 weeks ago. We spoke about this, that the reward for mitzvah is actually a thank you. And here we spell it out over here, that there's a thank you for it. I read something yesterday, and I thought it was super interesting for us to know. We struggle a lot in life, and everybody has a different struggle. And every time we struggle, it's always because we don't have something, or we have too much of something, an illness or something bad. And so I read a parable, and it said there was a king who had one son, and he would support his son. Once a year his son would come, and he would give him a large sum of money, and the son would go off for a year and come back next year when the money ran out, and he came back to him. The king thought about this, and he said, I only see my son once a year. How can I change that? He decided to change his method. He gave his son enough money to last him the day. And therefore, every single morning, his son came to the palace to see his father, to get money, caught a little schmooze with his father, little chit-chat, gave him a hug, and went about his day. We spoke about the test of wealth a few weeks ago. And I want to put this together. What is the test of wealth? The test of wealth is Hashem gave you so much, such an abundance of whatever is good in your life, that you don't stop to come back and talk to Him. He gave you enough to last you the whole year. When are you going to come back and daven? When are you going to come back and talk to Hashem? Sometimes when we don't have enough of what we think we need, and we keep on davening for it, that's the bracha. That's the king that tells us, I want to see you more often. I love you. Yesterday we spoke about that Shaar Habitachon. At the end of the day, what we're looking for is not the reward. We want Tati. We want you. What's more important to realize, and we're going to see it in the coming chapters, it's not that just we want to show our love for Hashem. Hashem actually loves us too. And He wants us to be by there because He loves our company just as much as we love His. And so today, when we go about doing our mitzvahs, when we go about doing those different things, we have to understand just doing the mitzvah alone is not the whole picture. It's the mindfulness. It's the teaching to other people. It's sometimes encouraging others to do good as well. It's to teach them Torah, to teach them the ways of Hashem. And that's what we just learned in the fourth reason as to why the Torah does not mention reward in Olam Haba. Thank you everybody for joining me today on this beautiful 6th day of Hanukkah, and I love you all.
Beautiful.